So today we're going to be taking a look at the newest Hamilton Khaki. It's at a great size. It has a cool texture dial. As always, there's going to be timestamps down below in case you want to skip to any part of the video. Let's get into it. We have a diameter of about 36, lug to lug of just under 42 millimeters, and a height of pretty much 10. And then we have a lug width of 18 millimeters. So overall, really good size. There was a lot of misinformation going around that this was a 33 millimeter watch, and that's because for some reason everyone was taking this measurement of the, this weird measurement basically, and that's 33 millimeters, but it doesn't wear like it's 33 millimeters. And at first when I heard that, it threw me off, but getting it in person, realizing it's a 36 and trying it on, it does wear well. So inside we have the caliber H50, which is basically a modified ETA 2801. Basically they just slow down the beat rate, so they boost the power reserve to 80 hours, which is pretty cool. It's just nice to have. We have Super Luminova in that, faux vintage styling. No see-through case back or anything, but a benefit is we have 100 meters of water resistance. We don't have a screw-down crown though. It would have been nice to see, but as it stands, it's okay. Mineral crystal on the top, and let's get into it. So looking at the dial, I really like how they just kept it simple. We got the nice railroad track on the outside, good square lume plots with that vintage lume. I'm usually not a very big fan of vintage lume, but I think here it's both well done and well intentioned. It looks good. I think it fits the watch, fits the style. The color is kind of spot on. I had a guy online who just thought it was a vintage Hamilton, and it's not, but it has the look about it. They went for this really nice deep texture on the dial, which makes it lean more towards gray than black. It's still very dark, but it does come out as a kind of very slight gray in some lightings. Very nice Arabic numerals, all very simple. I like that they kept the text very minimalistic on the dial, and they have this nice slanted Hamilton font. It looks really good, it's simple, it's effective. I like that they kept a no date for the watch. It's a good looking one. So zooming in, we really see just like how deep that texture is. It really is this kind of almost rock-like, igneous adjacent type thing. You get colorations of black in there, you get some gray, you get some specks of white. All the printing is done really well. There's no misprinting, there's no holes in the lume plot. It's all very smooth, all very well done. Not even any real fuzziness around the hands there, which you do see a lot at this price point usually, and just a little bit of knowledge that you have some real attention to detail that was taken when your watch was assembled, put together, QC'd. Really nice dial overall. I'm a sucker for texture dials, and this one's done well. Going on to the case, it is as simple as a case can get in finishing, but I would say interesting in design. We have vertical brushing literally everywhere. It's just a straight brushing along the entire top, straight brushing down immediately on the case side. We have a nice polished crown there with the little Hamilton logo, which I do think is a nice touch. Again, overall very, very simple case. I like that the crown sits into the case, making the case itself almost like a crown guard. Keeps a symmetrical look about the watch. Very simple case back, very minimalist, military in a way. Just all the information you need, nothing you don't. Hamilton, Swiss made, water resistant, all that good stuff. The crown has a really nice knurling to it, which is good because this is a hand wind movement, so has a nice grip to it, easy to grip, not a problem to wind. Although we don't really have any polishing on this watch, we do have this chamfer here. Honestly, in some lights it looks like it's polished, in other lights it looks like it's brushed, but just a very defined sectioning between the top case and the mid case. Either way, it does add a nice little visual interest to the watch. It is just a nice attention to detail, and it just adds to the curvaceous nature of that really, really beautiful case. I mean, you see the curves here. It's almost like a nice bell shape. The curve kind of goes from the bottom of the lugs to the top to the crystal in very continuous motion. It is a really nice case that looks almost a little awkward when you first see it, especially the way the lugs just cut off kind of abruptly in a way. But on the wrist, once you get used to it, it actually is a really nice case to wear, and it's a nice mix-up from the usual in the watch box. So let's try it on the wrist. Earlier today I was wearing my Seiko SARD 007, And here we have, again, the 36 millimeter Hamilton Khaki on my 6.5 inch wrist. I think it looks gorgeous. It wears very well. The almost 42-ish lug to lug length makes it sit very nicely within the bounds of my wrist. This will look amazing on smaller wristed people. Once you start going 7 inch, 7.5 inch, you're either going to have to be okay with just vintage styling or okay with wearing a smaller watch. I don't think it'll look bad, but if you're used to wearing 40s, 42s, it is going to be a little bit of a culture shock to you. The watch, again, is very thin, so it wears very close to the wrist. It is really just a pleasure to wear, and although it is a different case shape, a somewhat unique case shape, you do start getting used to it. It does start just becoming a nice point of visual interest for the watch. You know, the dial shines for itself with the texture, and then the case just kind of complements it, but also is something that you can appreciate as well. As you can kind of see there, it does really, really just sit flat on the wrist. It just curves down really well, sits literally as close to the wrist as possible, and yeah, I just love this watch. I love the way it wears. It's comfortable. It's just comfortable. So this is not the original strap. This is actually a canvas strap from Archer. I went with this one mainly because it has the circular strap end versus Barton has the square end. I just like the look of the circle better. It does come on a NATO strap, and I'm not a big NATO strap guy, but the NATO strap it does come on is very nice. So here's the stock strap. It is pretty nice, honestly. The texture is somewhere between a regular NATO and a seatbelt. It actually is very, very smooth, but not as silky as a seatbelt. We have a very, very nice buckle here, signed Hamilton. Everything fits in each side very well. Very nice hardware, not movable. And reinforced holes for the buckle and reinforced end, so it just prevents straying. Really nicely made, really good quality. I'm just not big into NATO, so not really going to be wearing this one too much on the watch. And without putting the strap on completely, this is just kind of the look the NATO gives. Definitely fits the watch, but just not my choice. So as we can see, the Lume is done pretty minimally. We just have it on the hands and on the pips around the outside. I apologize that my surroundings aren't as dark as they usually are, but you still get the idea. It is not the best Lume by any means. Obviously, if you bring something over here like the Timex, it just completely outshines it. It isn't going to be knock your socks off Lume, but it does last a decent amount of time, and it doesn't look that bad either. So going on to pros and cons, I feel like one of the biggest pros of this watch really is just the size of it. The case is very comfortable. The diameter and the length are just fit on the wrist really well. It fits a lot better than the regular Hamilton Khaki mechanical, in my opinion. It's a nice case. It's comfortable. It's thin, and it's definitely a pro. Other than that, the dial is very cool. I love that they went for a texture on it. I love how kind of unique and different it is. You don't really see a lot of textures in even a similar style on the market, so well done there. And overall, I think the movement is actually just pretty cool. The fact that you get, yes, a slower beat rate, but you get 80 hours of power reserve. There was times where I went to wind the watch and I picked it up, and I didn't even expect it to be running, but it was. You know, we're used to about like maybe 40-hour power reserve watches, and you get twice that in this watch, and it's pretty cool. One kind of pro / con is just basically the fact that, I mean, they did go for a mineral glass crystal. I posted it online, and a lot of people said I would have either liked them to go acrylic or they would have liked to go sapphire. Acrylic just basically to hammer home on the vintage styling, or sapphire for the robust nature of it. Personally, I don't care about mineral crystal. I've never scratched one, so I'm okay with it, but I can see why it'd be a con to some people. Moving on to the main cons, for me, I usually just don't like vintage Lume, so I'm going to include that as a con. I do think it works pretty well on this watch, but again, because they went for that vintage Lume signature, I feel like it doesn't play around with straps as well. There's certain colors of straps, like greens and certain blues, that I don't think mesh as well as they would if it would have been a white Lume signature. So overall, that's a bummer. It does limit your strap options in my opinion, and it's something I think they should have maybe included a non-vintage Lume version. Just a thought. And really, other than that, the case, while being comfortable and well sized, can be a little awkward at first. When I first got the watch in, I kind of just thought, yeah, this is a weird case. It looks weird. It feels weird. It's different than what you're used to. But honestly, after wearing the watch for about maybe an hour, 2 hours, it became supremely comfortable and it became something I really enjoyed looking at. So the case may be a con to you, but I would say try it on first because it might actually just be something really cool that you could have on your wrist. So, I mean, final thoughts, is it a great watch? I got mine for around the $600 mark, and I think at that price, they're really a good value. I do prefer them over the regular Khaki mechanical. I do prefer them over most things in that price range, honestly. If you're looking for this kind of like everyday military-esque vibe, I feel like the only logical extension of this is to go up in price to a Zin. And those really hover around like the $900,000, $1,100 mark. So it is a decently priced watch. You get a good amount of watch for your money, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. Thanks for watching.